your film is called Killing Ed.
Correct.
It's a documentary. Is there anything that you could give us to fill us in on a little background?
Absolutely. Killing Ed is a feature-length documentary. It's about 94 minutes long. It deals with charter schools, the growth of the charter school movement, and corruption behind that growth, and the worst-case scenario, which is a group that is an Islamic global movement called the Gulen Movement that operates one of the largest charter school chains in the United States. It's taken us about 4.5 years to research and document this group. They don't like to have their story told out in the open, so we're the first film that's really given a critical look at the Gulen Movement, both here in the United States and where they originated, which is Turkey.
So, how did you find out about this?
I first ran into members of the Gulen Movement in my hometown of Austin, Texas, about 10 years ago. I was serving on a nonprofit board, and they had taken our mayor on a trip to Turkey with several other important people from our community, about 10 people altogether. And they came back really ecstatic about this group of Muslims that they considered very moderate. And eventually I was contacted. I was working on a different film at the time, and I was starting to get phone calls from people from around the United States about schools that were opening by this group of Turkish guys. They didn't know kind of who they were. There was a lot of strange things going on. And I just thought it was an interesting story. So we started filming around that in Austin. And then we went to other locations around the United States where the group's active. Oakland, California, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Louisiana. And put together Killing Ed, which is really about, in my opinion, the worst case scenario for the privatization of public education. When I started this film, I was pretty indifferent about the privatization, or some people call it school choice. I don't have any children, so I wasn't really too interested in educational topics. I think what has really given me passion about this project is uncovering the Gulen Movement's operations here in the United States and what they've done, and they've done some very negative things. We interviewed people that were tortured by them in Turkey, or falsely arrested, or intimidated. And it's just something that, I think is fascinating, and it's something that most people in the United States aren't aware of.
So, do you touch on the political aspect of what happened in our education system, like with the No Child Left Behind Act, which really opened the door for the increase of private education institutions?
Well, that's right. No Child Left Behind has led to a lot of high-stakes testing, which has created a lot of instances where governments will just say, "Oh, a school's failing because its test scores aren't high." And in the film, we covered a school in East Austin that was considered a failing school, and followed it through a pattern where it had been converted to a charter school by an organization that's located, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from Austin. And it was really interesting because they pushed back on it. The community got together. They elected a completely new school board, and they got rid of this influence that they didn't really want in their community. And I think that's, one of the messages of the film is we as citizens of this country have an ability to kind of push back on things that we don't agree with. And that might be through local elections. It might be through bringing awareness. But the film's complex, and it deals with a lot of different subjects. But what really I found passionately interesting was this new Islamic group and its operations here in the United States.
Are you finding yourself battling the controversy of dealing with a religious group?
Oh, yeah. The Gulen Movement's aware of the film. They don't like it. They've had their very expensive PR firm, Burson Marsteller, call me, threaten to sue me. It's concerning. There's several different people that we interviewed that had to remain anonymous because they feel that their life is threatened by the group's members here in the United States.
You're definitely dealing with the organization itself and backlash
Right.
from the organization. But what about the American population who might perceive that there could be some kind of anti-Islamic message?
In the film, we actually have Muslims that have been the ones that have been attacked by members of the Gulen Movement. So it's not just a one-sided story of non-Muslims talking about a Muslim group. It's actually engaging people that are, I wouldn't call them, they're sort of non-religious cultural Muslims. And they still believe in Islam. And they say in the film, we're Muslims too. This isn't the Islam that we understand or believe in. And when you get to it, the things that the Gulen Movement has been doing in Turkey, partially funded through our taxpayer funds that pay for charter schools, is have this kind of revolution, a very soft civil war, where they are instituting a more theocratic state in Turkey, where it used to be secular. So secular Turks that are Islamic are very concerned. They're Muslims too. They don't want to see the growth of this. They're surprised about what they see here in the United States and the fact that most Americans aren't aware of it. And they speak out too in the film. And the title, Killing Ed, is about the larger problem, in my opinion, now that this charter school movement, this school choice movement, has really done a lot of damage to public education in the United States. Yeah. And the worst case scenario being the Gulen Movement operating these schools and taking approximately $500 million a year in taxpayer funds for it.
So is this something that you would recommend to all ages, people who are interested in education, people who are not? It sounds extremely educational and eye-opening.
I think it's appropriate for adults. I think there's some content about torture that's not appropriate for children. But yeah, I think if you're interested in filmmaking in general and seeing how an expose is put together and chasing down a group of people that don't want to be on camera, don't want to be interviewed, want to remain secretive, that's what Killing Ed's all about.
How about distribution? Are we, as the public audience, are we viewers going to be able to have access to this maybe in a year's time?
I think it might be less than a year that I actually had the film out on digital distribution platforms, and certainly on DVD. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Sounds like something we all definitely need to watch and educate ourselves on. Another documentary topic that is very, very pertinent to your life, no matter where you are and no matter what country you're in. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Project Nerd today, and I just wish you the best of luck with your film.
Thanks very much.